our GM, Michael, and Daniel Rodriguez. And so next is adoption of the agenda. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda.
The second.
All in favor? Pass. I'm assuming Lori and Rick said yes. So is that unanimous?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, anyone have any announcements? Linda?
So I was looking at a flyer that I got on Facebook that CTK is sponsoring the Easter egg hunt for Seven Valley on April 19th down at the Dance Barn Playground. I'm gonna start at 10:30 a.m. Everybody's welcome to attend. They only ask that you don't forget your own basket.
Bring a basket.
Yep, bring a basket.
All right, anyone else?
Yeah, I've got an update for the short-term rentals.
Nice.
I haven't spoken to Lori. Lori and I haven't been in a couple weeks, but we did get 10 people who are interested. 10 people expressed some interest in the idea. 8, I think, definitely want to join up with the committee. So we will have to pick 6 out of that. So Lori and I will look at these and probably have names next time for the board to review.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, property owner comments, we have no one here, but anybody online?
Nope.
Okay, then we can move on to approval of the minutes.
I would like to make a motion for the board to approve the 3/27/2025 board minutes as submitted, or if anyone has any corrections or would need them ever say something different, let me know.
You need a second?
I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, anyone have any comments or questions, Tom?
Yeah, on the safety committee minutes. And I get copies today.
Okay.
I don't like the way it's kind of worded where it says. Talking about the cars safely driving around school times when school buses are picking up and dropping off students.
Okay.
There's no way to safely drive around school.
Okay. I was reading from the transcript for a lot of these reports.
I know we're working on this, but
We are concerned about cars not safely, oh, I see, driving around, it's supposed to be around school time, but I can drive up, I can change that to say about cars driving when school buses are picking up and dropping off students, and just take out the rest of that crazy.
stopping
Yeah, the around, I get what you're saying, because the last thing we want to be doing
is
is
driving
driving
around
around
school
with school bus.
bus.
Yeah. Well, cars not stopping, okay. When school buses are picking up and dropping off students, I can make that change before I post it.
Okay, so we have to make this a new motion to adopt the minutes as per
Yes,
the changes.
yeah,
Making a motion that we adopt it with the changes.
So
That's the motion.
you're making, okay, then I'll second it.
and timing. All in favor? Right,
Lori is yes.
thank you.
Rick, I'm assuming you're yes?
Yeah, yes.
Alright. Alright, moving on to reports. First is the GM report, Michael.
Thank you, Madam President. I would ask the board stipulate to this is the same GM report that we had 2 weeks ago. It is for the month of March. So we'll have a complete April GM report at the April 24th meeting. And the GM report that I'm referring to is also in the views, and it is included in this board package. So unless you want me to read through the same thing I did 2 weeks ago,
I think we're
I
gonna,
hope you would stipulate all. Respect for your time.
We like that. Okay, committee updates, architectural control, Daniel?
Yeah, no real updates. We have, I think 31 applications for next week. I think a lot more, variances, a lot of trees, but we do have quite a few new constructions, so it's gonna be a busy week.
Thank you. Document review,
We finally have our third person that will be approved by the board tonight, so we can start planning when we can all meet and start having meetings. So I'm excited about that. So that's where we're at.
nice. Okay, finance committee, Rick?
Yes, thank you. So the Finance Committee has not met since the last board meeting. However, the Executive Committee did meet regarding, and I think that's 7. Let's see. Yeah, 7A, we'll be discussing that. So Finance Committee has not met. We'll be meeting next week.
Okay, thank you. Long range planning, right?
Hey, Don't supposed to report on this every other week, every other board meeting? I think I did a report last time, but
Yeah, so there's nothing new.
Nothing new.
it's kind of the same. We did get a report on barn 8, and we're in the process of getting costs on barn 6 from an architect, and we do have those, and we will submit the next board meeting after it goes through the finance committee and get a motion, so we can find out what the real costs for 2026 to do barn 6. The ones we have are old, and there's been some modifications. So
Okay, thank you.
bring that next time. Thank you.
All right, N&E was absent, and safety committee.
Likewise, the Safety Committee has not met since the last board meeting. We are meeting next Thursday.
So moving on to number 6, continuing business, we have none. So then we move on to 7A, new business, ratification of emergency approval, remove SVCA and tree parcel 32583. So Michael, do you want to, talk about that?
Certainly, Madam President. So this was presented earlier this week or last week as well, in an emergency basis to the exec committee, because what we have there, of course, is a life safety and severe property damage. So we have requested that the board ratify the actions of the executive committee. While it appears to be a fairly pricey mitigation at $40,000, this is an extremely technically oriented process. So if you take a look at the packet that we put together, we supposed to taking the day that I was out there with Mike Rock and with Ben Rawls. There are boulders this size and larger that have come out of the root ball, and one of the big ones, and it would have rolled all the way into people's house. It's sitting up against 4 little saplings. And the angle of that slope, I don't know if you can tell. It's about like this, so you can't get a crane in there. They're gonna have to jackhammer the boulders into pieces that they can actually carry down the slope. And then they have to cut the root ball up, which is impacted with soil, rocks. Ben it all said, I'm gonna go through 50 chains, cutting this up, meaning the chainsaw chains.
So is the actual tree stable? I mean, why couldn't they just get rid of the boulders?
Well, the tree is laying down, and the root ball is the problem. So
Well, the root ball's not gonna move, is it?
it's full
Boulders
of,
are the problem, right?
the root ball is full of impacted boulders and soil. And so what's occurring is as it rains, it's washing more of those boulders out of the root ball.
But the boulders are the problem, not the tree, right?
Well, yeah, the tree's not gonna go anywhere, but the boulders in the root ball
Is
process.
there a price for just jackhammering the boulders out of the way?
We didn't ask that at this point, because you gotta deal with the root ball. The root ball weighs at least 20,000 pounds. It's a huge tree.
But it's not moving.
No, it's not, but it's full of soil and rocks that are impacted. I encourage you to go out there and take a look at it. The reason that it became on the radar screen is with the rainfall. It's washing the soil now out of the root ball and releasing the rocks, the boulders.
Yeah.
And we're not talking this size, we're talking.
No, it didn't feel like the boulders are the problem.
Yeah, I mean, if the board wants to try to piecemeal it, I just don't recommend it. This hole is right there. And if you know what I'm saying? If we had the chance to mitigate this and something rolls into their home or God forbid, hurt somebody, we'd be in a terrible legal position.
Do you know what the nature of the safety fence would be? Would that be?
Yeah, it's kind of like an aircraft carrier arresting barrier that he puts up.
So-
It's straps that you use for tying down semis, it's woven together.
So if that would put them immediately, that would mitigate the the immediate problem, right? I mean, there would be any huge.
I could not say that with any certainty. Ross wants to put that up just while they're doing the work.
Right.
In the hopes that if a boulder rolls down, they're gonna catch it. But if you go and look at it and it's this steep, you cannot walk up that hill.
Right. I went to gate 5, I know what you're talking about.
It's a weird one, so.
I can't get up to the back of my lot anymore.
Yeah, Tom?
Yeah, I'm just thinking if Sun Valley takes ownership of the bird bowl and the rocks and leaves the tree, we own that tree in play.
Well, you own it now, I mean, you'll, when they started the job, if obviously some birds will get lost.
Possibly stabilize that tree.
Yeah.
Then I think it's better just to get rid of the whole plant.
Yeah, the removal of the tree is not a problem. They can cut it up and load it onto a log truck from the top, in the top side. They can't get to the root ball at the bottom side.
Yeah. It looks like a mess.
Oh, I've never seen anything like it.
It looks like they've already suffered some root damage.
Yeah, I noticed that too when I was looking at the pictures.
Well, the owner thought it was on his property. So he called a tree removal company, and they came out and looked at it and said, oh, we're not gonna touch this. And they said, the only one we know of around here is Rawls. And that's when Mike Rock and I got the call. This is just last week. The owner, this tree's been down since November. And it's only now, if you go out there and look at it and you look at the slope now and the boulders that have rolled down the run, it's really concerned me. It's about half the size of my table right there.
If you look at
And
that,
it's round and it's being held up by 4 little saplings right now.
if you look at that little picture and you enlarge it on your computer, you can see that big thing just sitting under there. Waiting to come loose.
Looks like they have some lights that might not be in compliance.
Okay.
Yeah, all the things you see when you get in somebody's backyard. But the photograph there on page 13, you can see the angle of the slope. And you can see directly below that roof wall, you can see the house, and that's the second story of the house.
Mhm.
And it looks like it needs reworking now.
All right, so going forward, I move that the SVCA Board of Directors ratify the emergency action taken by the Executive Committee on April 4th, 2025 pursuant to bylaws, Article 6, Section 6.3, and in accordance with emergency authority under RCW 64.38.0203 and RCW 2403A.65652, approve a preliminary allocation of $40,000 from SURF General Ledger number 8003, understanding that the final amount may be adjusted based on final invoicing and scope. And 2, authorize the selection of Rawls Tree Service to perform immediate removal of the identified hazard tree, risk mitigation for unstable borders, and any additional safety measures deemed necessary by qualified personnel.
Second.
Thank you. All right, any more discussion? Any more questions? Lori, Rick?
Get rid of the tree.
Okay, so, all in
All in
favor?
favor?
Lori, Rick?
Yes for Lori.
Rick?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. All right, 7B, gate 2 signage.
So the gate 2 signage is, we're requesting the amount that is in the CRRF, the 2025, $20,000. But initially, we're not going to use the entire 20,000. We'd like the board to go ahead and approve it. The first sign order that we have is to use the existing black marble, looks like a tombstone up there. Yeah, we are going to put the standard approved $7 sign on each side of it, said gate 2. That'll cost us under $1,500. The remaining monies in there, we would like to use in the gate 2 area to work alongside of the grant that we have from Bellingham. They're doing the native plant garden and landscaping all around the Welcome Center and all around gate 2. So there'll be interpretive signage and directional signage in that area. We'd also like to use a portion of this for the signs, all in the gate 2 area. So that's our request at this point. We looked at a monument sign, actually replacing it, and the low bid was $40,000 and the high bid was $60,000 for this sign. And we just said, we pressure washed it. I had Mike Brock and his team go up and look at it. The footing and everything's in great shape. We already have electrical for the lighting. So that's our recommendation. It's a cost-effective way to dress up that ugly thing. And we'll put the correct letters back up. It'll be 1850. Like welcome. There's notice for a while there, the letters have fallen on. So that's this request for gate 2.
When I was wondering if the electrical still worked in that, because it'd be nice to have it.
Yeah, the power is still, and we'll redo the lighting there.
Nice. Okay, so I move that the board of directors authorize the director of finance to obligate the budgeted funds from SURF not to exceed $20,000 for periodic expenditures for various sign vendors.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? All right, I got, that's unanimous.
I see hands up there.
I can see them up there. I'm getting better at that now. Motion 2, move that the board of directors authorize the GM and the maintenance and facilities manager to contract with the lowest responsible sign providers to design, source, and furnish the necessary signage in April, May, and June 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? I see fingers up there too, so that's unanimous. Okay, the next one, 7C, Marina directional signage.
And again, this is a request from SURF for a budget number not to exceed the $15,000 for the Marina directional signage. And this will include a large 4x8 sign, which will replace the one sign that you see as you come in. It'll also have a new rules sign, and then we'll have directional signage in that area as well. And we'll be happy to show you the renderings of those. We're using the dye bond signs from one of the sign companies in Bellevue. The graphics are beautiful, good colors, they're aluminum, they're a cost-effective choice. And rather than spend, $5,000 on one sign, these dye-mold signs allow us to have a cost-effective sign that looks good, and then if we decide to change it, it's not a big investment. Those signs are, the new technology, the way they're able to do these signs is good.
We kind of use it down there. Okay, so motion one, move that the board of directors authorize the director of finance to obligate the budgeted funds from SERF not to exceed $15,000 for periodic expenditures from various sign vendors.
Second.
Any discussion? No?
What's the approximate lifespan of these things?
They're in the 5 to 7 year range, and they actually have a UV resistant coating on them. So, they don't chalk like most painted signs do.
Gotcha.
But I think the one thing I like about it is they're not graffiti proof, but if you spray paint on them, it's like it has an oily surface. You can take lacquer thin and get the paint off without taking the sign off. So, yeah, the cities have true graffiti resistant sign materials, and those graffiti paint won't stick to it.
What about the gate 2 sign?
That's the same with the dye bond, yeah. And it's a large format.
Yeah, if Tina's still in town, we will have trouble with that.
With graffiti?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you've seen here, we have 5 of our stop signs defaced over the last 2 weeks.
What gate, any particular gate?
We might have a list of them.
Oh, okay, I wondered if it was,
Yeah, and they weren't, you couldn't tell there was any kind of political message, it was just white paint on the stop sign.
Probably those hearts.
I'm sorry.
Somebody's painting hearts everywhere.
Yeah, I was hoping it wasn't a T for a Tesla or something like that.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor? We got 2 hands up there, right? Okay, so we unanimous? You had your hand up, right? Yep. Okay, thought I was not. Okay, yeah. Motion 2, move that the board of directors authorize the GM and maintenance and facilities manager to contract with the lowest responsible sign providers to design, source, and furnish the necessary signage in 2025.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor? Your hands up there, we're unanimous again. Okay. 7D, approval request confidentiality and social media policy. Michael, you're up again.
Yes, so that confidential social media policy is primarily aimed at employees at this point. It has been vetted by Richard Davis, and the union reps have also looked at this. So our concern here is not that we really have anybody right now who is releasing confidential information, but this aims to have not only a policy in place, but also the ability to have some of these confidentiality provisions survive when somebody leaves. So if, for example, we have a team member who's privy to executive session board materials, when they leave their employment, they're still bound by this and can be held accountable, and which is a custom and practice in almost every corporation in America. Richard Davis and the union, even I was surprised. He said, you have every right in the world to protect your confidential information. And so, we're looking at things like people's credit card numbers and their personal bank accounts and, executive session, legal. But then again, it has the social media side of it that Richard Davis really helped us wordsmith a portion of it so that it didn't unnecessarily restrict freedom of speech rights, but it also addressed the fact that if you have, which we do, we have team members who are homeowners. And so homeowners have a right to respond as a homeowner, but this requires that if they're on social media, that they identify that I'm speaking as a homeowner and not as an employee. And so those, I think it's a good balance, but there was no real policy. And this came about as our work now with the One Digital, with the new HR consulting firm that the board approved for us. And they're in the midst of, we're just about finished with the employee handbook, and we'll have that for the board to look at. But one of the deficiencies they spotted was that you need a confidentiality of social media posts. So that is what you have here. And so we would hope the board would take a look at it and move forward with it.
So this is just kind of an NEA that proceeds to the goal.
Correct. That follows people after they leave as well.
Right, yeah, that's a good thing.
Okay, so,
I think the only overlap, there's not much, and the one that actually, that we have under existing policies follows federal law that was done a few years ago. And that's only under 4.3 where it says engage in harassment, bullying, or discriminatory behavior towards SVCA members, staff, or vendors.
Yeah, we thought it was important to
Yeah.
restate that.
Yeah.
Because, you could consider definition of that type to be confidential information. Somebody saying, hey, look, we had a employer or board member made a decision and I think they would, or however they want to put it.
Yeah.
But, we want to make sure that that was restated because bullying and intimidation, it's got no place in our list.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Want me to do a thing?
I can do it. I think I got
Want to do?
Yeah.
All right.
I think I've got it right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but, I move that the board of directors approve the confidentiality and social media policy for employees.
Second,
Didn't I?
that's good.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous again. Okay. Okay. This mine. Let's be with. My agenda.
I have a good machine.
Okay, what number? Oh, number
7E.
7E, thank you, I found it. Approval request to rescind the mitigation law policy. Michael.
Okay, and again, one of the executive committee asked that this be placed on the agenda. And Linda, did you want to speak to it?
I'll be happy to.
Okay.
Earlier this year, the executives worked with a member who lived here in the valley, who initially applied for this mitigation lot back in 2020. There, he submitted a long list of documents where people kept saying, yes, this, you can do this, we'll take the lot, we'll take it off your hands. And it kept being pushed from board to board to board. And he just finally came to us for resolution. He had a lot of documentation from various people that worked prior to the board, from prior board members that said, yes, I remember this being approved. President McLean had me go back and look, and I went through all the stuff, found where it was approved. There were several meetings to where they put this actual agreement that's also provided for you in there. If you read it, it leaves a lot of the work that needs to be done by the owner before we even get into the agreement with him. And he did all the steps that he did. And we finally settled with him, paid us his back dues, it was due, so we've come out in the long run. Unfortunately, we own the lot. The county stipulated that it had to be a wetlands mitigation lot. It never can be built on. We will continue to pay taxes on it. I think we could probably approach the county and ask them for us to be able to put that into green space and be forgiven our dues. I think there's a process for that.
I've contacted them today, I'm working with them, and for your information, the property taxes on this lot, the one they referred to, $181 a year, right now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a lot of money, it's just that it's the risk that we assume when we do this. And it's like, we take on things like that large tree we looked at and the boulder.
Protected for boulders.
And it's like, we just, we did this one time, it's just not something that we need to do for the association. We're putting the association at risk by doing this. And I would really like to see us simply rescind this for now. It never ever got posted in the policies anywhere, so it was a job to even find where all of this was done. So I would, I would ask that we rescind this. I would move the board to rescind mitigation lot policy adopted 8/27/2020.
Second. Any discussion, questions?
So we're rescinding, we're getting rid of it.
Yep,
It's no longer.
that's right.
We won't have to do this anymore.
If somebody comes to us, we say we've rescinded that policy.
So what happens with this particular lot?
The one we've already
Got that.
We have already contacted this owner, we have talked through it, he agreed to the terms. He paid some monies that need to be paid for this to work, for the title to be transferred to us, all those costs he paid for. So now it's just that we own it, and going forward, as the GM pointed out, we'll have property taxes to pay unless the county forgives the,
So this is kind of a one-time shot.
one-time shot.
We don't want to do it again.
So there will be no mitigation, so if there's a lot that's out of wetlands, it just can't be built on, is that what that means, or?
Yeah.
I would assume.
That is my only concern, is that you lose this tool in your toolbox. If I think it said, of course, it does say that this is subject case by case basis.
Yeah.
For the board, and but you're quite right. You have, this was not part of the density reduction plans that you had in the past. All of those, they took them off tax rolls. But this, for example, this lot above 12-7 Valley that SVCA owns, that's a building lot. And that one is one of those as well that, as Daniel pointed out, we're assuming responsibility for the trees on the lots. And in the case of Adam Fulton at 25-7 Valley, we went out to the lot with an arborist to make sure we didn't have any trees like that one. So I can see both sides of it. But Linda's quite right. It is something that is hanging out there, and because it did get in the views, I've had one owner contact me wanting to start the process on another one. So
could you not have that, if that was a situation that came up again, could there not be a lot consolidation where the person wanting to build could consolidate the new lot for the mitigation and they own it as opposed to we owning it?
yeah, I'm not sure how the county looks at that. This is the county granting them permission and saying, look, you're gonna put this in a mitigation. And that was the purpose. Do you know the background on that, Daniel, on how the county grants those?
No.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I believe too, as far as combining lots, the lot that the member built on was on Harborview. And the mitigation lot that he was able to obtain is down on Sudden Valley Drive. So it's not like it's not like they're close together, and he, did a lot of work to do it. But it's just, I really don't think it's in our best interest to start taking these lots. You know, we barely take care of all the green space we have with hazard trees. And I don't know that that's a wise thing to, you know, especially when they're turned into a mitigation lot and the county makes them unbuildable. You know, at least the lot behind this house that has the tree is buildable. But not this one, never will be, the county will not allow anyone to build on it.
How about this particular homeowner acquired slot?
I think he wanted, how do I say it? He wanted to build on Harborview, and he's built a house, he's sold it, and he no longer lives in the association. But then when he went to get approval from the county, they pointed out that, that he needed wetland mitigation. And then, they gave him options to go about how to do it. He came back to the general manager at that time. And somehow he told him, you should be able to do that. The ACC coordinator at that time agreed with him. There's emails to this effect. And it was like, so he went out and did his homework, got this lot, did the whole thing, kept coming back. In the meantime, then all he needed was that mitigation lot for his permit to move forward. So he finished his bill, went through ACC, did it just fine, no problems. But then all of a sudden, it's like he kept sending stuff to people going, I'd like to finish doing that now, new board, new general manager. And it's like, we'll look into it. Couple more years go by, because I'm still waiting for something, couple more years go by. He has all the emails from the different people that he contacted. And we just finally decided we need to put an end to it. It's like he kept coming to us, and we kept saying, yes, we'll take care of it. No one did, so we've closed it, he's whole, we're as whole as we're gonna get until if the county will release us from paying taxes on it, it'll still be ours. If any tree falls or it has any issues, it will be our responsibility, because it will be Southern Valley property.
Who'd you buy it?
That I don't know.
Who did he buy the lot?
That I don't know, I'd have to look in the tax rolls, I'm not certain.
So just to be clear, so for him to have a mitigation lot, he had to buy that.
Yes, from somebody.
He's not asking Sun Valley to buy the lot from him.
No.
He's just giving it to, he's just giving it quick.
Yes, he quit claimed it.
Okay.
But we require it to be, free of hazards somehow.
I think,
Give it a audit of some sort.
I think,
We looked at it.
Yeah.
Because that was one thing that the executive asked, they said, look, we'd like to have an arbor stuff and look and see if we're paying our stuff in the owner. And we did.
Well, other than taxes, I would think that most people would want us to have properties that can be built on, Southern Valley owned properties. And if we could somewhere mitigate the hazards on these properties, maybe still a solution.
no, the county that was one of the agreements to allow him to build. Is the county has taken off any right for us to build on that mitigation lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still not buildable, but it wouldn't be a hazard that we would have liability for in the future. So just if they have a property, you have to make sure that nobody boulders that are rolling to his house, no trees that could fall into his property. Just a safe property. Why couldn't we just go through with this process with something like that?
Do you think there are any like that?
And you can say, could we do that then? But the reality is, there's still over 300 lots privately owned. That we may run into other, how do I say, wetlands. That's a new thing for the county. When people bought out here before, there wasn't a wetlands policy, but there is now.
Yeah.
And I'm saying things change all the time, and I don't know that we want to open ourselves up to that.
Some idea how many people are would like to be part of that? People have been already, other than the one person.
Could have been one. But again, we didn't expect that article to be in use either.
So the other question is, 10 years from now, a guy wants to do a major remodel and it's gonna require wetland mitigation again, but now he doesn't own that piece of property, so.
It sounds like we're just trying to avoid potential headaches.
Mhm.
I think it's a good thing.
It's a risk, and it's a risk that, yes, we honor it, if all these people kept pushing this down the road. I think if somebody would have initially told them, no, I'm sorry, but Al really doesn't do that. Well, we had a general manager that didn't do that.
Yeah, I'd rather not be the one
Yeah.
making those decisions, but, the original policy was adopted, in 2020. It is rightly, as Linda stated, it requires the developer, meaning the homeowner who's looking for this, first to go to the county. And in the permit process, the county's gonna say, well, we'll let you build on lot A, but you have to give us mitigation for whatever reason. And to do that, it's kind of like the carbon tax.
Yeah.
The county wants something. Either you're gonna have to put in, riparian improvements or stormwater drainage, or they're gonna have to do something to mitigate the impact of their lot on the wetlands, and so to do that, the county it says the county may allow for offsite compensatory mitigation areas. And in the case of the gentleman who the board did approve, he had already gone to the county, got his permit based upon the fact that he recorded a conservation easement on the unbuildable lot already, and then brought it to us. And so at that point, it was permanently unbuildable. And so he, his rightly so is saying, I don't have to pay assessments on this. But that's the other side of it. So we lose the assessments and have to pay property tax.
Yeah.
What if they had a mitigation lot that wasn't on Sudden Valley property? Could they do that? It's just from the county, couldn't they mitigate somewhere else?
If they found another owner that wanted to sell them their property, that would be between the two of them and who pays dues, et cetera, et cetera.
But then the ACC would still determine whether the lot was buildable.
Yes,
Critical.
and like ACC probably looked at that after the county gave the permit for the Harborview, property. And it was just all lumped in with all of the stuff that was presented at that time.
And of course, the board could always enact a new policy or resolution if it came up in the future and we just had to have it back. So I'm playing both sides of the argument, but that's kind of my job is to.
What is the case by case basis, things and not having the policy?
Well, it states that in the policy, it's a case by case basis, and the board is in no way required to honor any of these.
Once again, if you leave it on the books, somebody's gonna say, well, you did it for payment, you have to do it for me. And you can have somebody who can be insistent enough to say that you're not treating me equally. If you rescind it, you rescinded it. We've done this whole thing with easements to help people with things, to see that they can build. I think that that's a viable option that we still have that's issued on a case by case basis. But I think to leave this in force is opening I think it's opening Pandora's box. I already have that from looking off the paper back from 2020 to the present.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this from an ACC perspective, if somebody comes to us with these, like, I don't want to process again, and we gave them okay because the county said okay, and then.
But if they find another lot that they can build, but it's the idea of actually having that policy that obligates the association. That's the
Right,
problem.
right.
He wants to own the other lot and pay dues on it or whatever and use it as a mitigation lot, and the county wants to say that it's not buildable, fine. But not that Southern Valley is gonna guarantee that they take it from them, you know? And that's kind of what this was, and it's just. You know, the longer we sit here with these hazard trees and the wet and the bomb cyclone, I think's taught us there's a lot of stuff that until we're allowed to better manage our forested areas, you know, it's risk.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor of submitting policy? Okay.
Unanimous?
Unanimous. And last but not least, document review committee.
I have a member that I would love to accept for approval, please, from the board. It's Ann Meter, Ray's wife. She has a background in doing a lot of sort of proofreading, administrative stuff that she's done all during her career. And I would love to have her come on board so we can start taking care of business. I can have your approval. She has been vetted.
All in favor of Ann Meter for the document review? All right, unanimous.
Thank you, everybody.
And so we are done. We call
Can I-
the, oh,
Can I ask one question?
you can.
So regarding the lot that has the $40,000 tree with the bulbs, you said that that was an SVA lot, Southern Valley lot, right? And I think you said that it was a buildable lot.
Yeah.
Did you say it was a buildable lot?
Yeah,
So are we gonna put that up for sale or is it for sale?
well, that.
It doesn't sound like we need this lot that's got $40,000 trees.
Well, SVCA currently has, I believe, I have a list of 4 or 5 that were foreclosures that we could put on the market. This one, we'll have to check, it may be buildable, but it may have been a density reduction one. And if it is density reduction, then
We
we
can't
can
do it.
trust,
Right,
and we can't sell it, or, yeah,
right.
but it's
You
built,
said buildable, so we need to investigate that if that lot is buildable.
right?
We probably won't keep that. I wouldn't think.
No, I agree, I would have to investigate that.
I mean, that slope, it's like here, and there's a house down here, we need to get rid of that.
Well, the buildable part is the next road right up would be the driveway, and it is, the majority of the lot is, you'll see on, let me go to the page here real quick. It's right here. Now, let me make it a little larger.
See,
I mean, we're paying, it's never gonna help us unless we offload this.
So here you see Arrowroot Place here. That's where the tree is located here, and it's in danger with this one here.
Yeah,
So the steepness you see in the photograph to the right, the tree root ball is right at the crest of where it gets steep. And so you have all of this flat and buildable up in here.
yeah, let's check that out and see if it's marketable. I think we could get that back to the board, really put that up for sale. It's a good time to sell lots right now. Because,
I inherited from Joanne the list of foreclosures, the ones that could be listed, and those I'm planning on bringing those to the board here. There's only 4 right now. But SVCA from the density reduction that you started in '93, you took 800 or so lots out, and you had consolidation on another 400 or 500. So there's a lot of quote buildable lots that are in trust, and you can't sell them. So nobody can build on them. They're conservation green space now. I'll find out though. This one was not on that list, right? On the list of the 4.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then referring to those 4 others that you just mentioned, you're gonna bring forward. But I believe that we were gonna offer a couple of those lots to the neighbors right next door and see if they wanted to buy it.
Well, I think that is the board's policy, is first to offer it to the neighbors, and then offer a lot.
I don't know if that ever happened, because we were kind of in transition.
Yeah, it hasn't, I haven't picked that up yet, it's on my to-do list.
Well, you need to get it on the list, Michael.
Yeah,
You've been told.
There's money we can make if we sell these, like,
yeah,
the neighbors can buy them, I mean,
sure, of course.
I mean,
Yeah, I have on my list, I'm working my way through all the priorities, you bet. And that is one. The value on those lots, you know, my cursory examination is, you know, they're anywhere from 20 to $30,000 value right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so for, yeah, that's $100,000.
yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
That almost pays for the tree.
Well, this tree, yeah.
One tree.
Yeah, well, it's the wind blowing out there before I left the office, we had another one come in, so we're trying to find out who's that.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for letting me vent about that a lot, because it needs to.
You want some lumber? It's, no, the timber value, we'll probably get a full log truck out of that, so and this is beautiful done fir.
Well, they get paid for that, right?
Now, $2,000, that's about all you get, on a full truck of done fir.
I've kind of been talking to Joel. And I asked him because we talked about the trees that were taken down during the bomb cyclone.
Mhm.
And I asked him that when we finalized all that, because yes, we have taken in money for trees that we were able to
So,
log
Yeah,
and give money back on. And I hope that when all of that is done between Michael and Joel, they'll point out how much money we got from the tree sales.
very good. This tree is not the cyclone.
yes.
Yes,
It is.
yeah. We put it in there because it was just the guy waited so long because he thought it was on his property.
Oh, okay.
And that's one of the reasons that we took we were going to have the obligation of those funds on this agenda. But since we're ahead of the game right now, remember the board allocated almost $380,000 back in December from roads and from SERF to be able to handle these emergency trees. This will dent into that, but we wanted to take this, of course, out of the SERF because it was a bomb cyclone tree.
So you didn't take it out of roads? Took it out of
Well, no, this won't be roads, this will be SERF.
Okay.
Yeah, now if it had fallen across the road, yeah, that you could have.
Then it would have been roads.
But the SERF actually, both of them have excess funds in it right now.
Might not when they're all done breaking up them rocks.
Right. Well, we were hoping this was an outlier. We know of the trees that fell down because of the bomb. This one, we had no idea it was down. It was the owner thought it was his tree. And it wasn't until we went out there and we were hopeful it was gonna be his tree, but it was not. It's, as you can see from the parcel map, it's definitely on the property.
Well, it's like they say, does the tree falls in the wood, does anybody hear it? No, which is sincere. I know there's one of the lots that we have that's off of Louisville. That there's a lot where you go way down in the dip and there's a big tree across there now that wasn't there before the bomb cyclone, and I think even after, but there's a giant tree across that whole span down there. That's our property, that's just.
Yeah, Mike Brock and I have looked at, there's about a half dozen of those. They're out in the middle of, and are on relatively flat, they're not gonna go anywhere, they weren't like this one. But yes, there are some big trees laying there.
Huge.
Yeah, just a question, if a tree, and I'm not completely 100% sure of the situation, I just been told this. A tree that was on Sun Valley property during the bomb cyclone fell onto an owner's property. And he says he's been having a hell of a time getting somebody to try to cut it up and remove it. Because they're saying since it's on his property, he has to get rid of it.
Well, if they, not only Diane, but Mike Brock, we process probably 3 or 4 of these every month. So if he's reached out to them Has he contacted Mike?
I don't know, we
Yeah, he-
discussed it a little bit, as soon as I feel a little better, I'm gonna go over to his house and check it out myself, and if I can cut it up and get it out, there's a way I'll do that.
No. If it's on our property, of course. Yeah, there's a
So,
process
tree
for it.
currently
It's
on his property.
on his property.
It fell on his property.
Yeah, but if the tree is growing in, yeah, it's a SVCA tree and it falls on his property, we need to mitigate.
Okay.
Okay,
There was a group out here for a while and they haven't come back since then, right after that happened. And they helped as many people as they could with the weeks that they were here.
They were hoping they'd come back, but they
Yeah.
just didn't make it. Other.
I'll
things
go
came
over
up.
to him, look at it. It's for Goss, if you were.
Okay.
Well, thank you, that's almost a record. For
But what time you need to
Okay,
know?
so, we will adjourn this meeting of the board of directors at 7:57.
very nice. I like it.
Another.
Good job, Tony. Tony is awesome.
Yeah, I actually remembered everybody's name this time, and that one number on the phone, and it's much better.
Thanks, Rick, thanks, Laurie.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Caught me off guard. I didn't expect it to be that over there.
Are we sleeping?
No, I.
This one looked into it.
I had another cup of coffee after before.
Yeah, if last time had been my first time trying to run a meeting, I would have just never doing it again.
You're getting really
Didn't
good
know
at
that
this.
some kind of.
Except for last time.
So you know.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, everybody was supportive and